get ready because everything is about to change. There's a new way of living life and doing business that will blow your mind. This is a podcast all about the timing of life and the timing of success. It's what we call the Right on Time life. And you are listening to the Right on Time podcast with McCue. Hello. Welcome back. McCue here, your host for this journey. And we are going through a little series right now around living life abroad, taking your life abroad, whether it's for full-time, part-time, or for a season, whatever it is. Could be a career change, could be you're running your own business and you're taking it abroad. And in the last episode, I shared our background on what took me abroad and my family abroad. And in this episode, we're diving into some of the practicalities that you may want to think about if you are taking life abroad. So if you are here, sitting back, multitasking, getting some work done, driving, got a cup of coffee, hello. I am happy to be hanging out with you. And this is intended to just be a really casual conversation. I have made a little list of some of those practical things that come up for us first and foremost with every move. Because if you've got these things in place, you're going to be good. You can pick up and run with it wherever you are. So it's a short list of things to think about. Ooh, I just thought of one more thing I'm going to add to the list. And I'm going to dive in. So first up, this is going to be way practical. So if you are not thinking about moving abroad and you're like, this does not apply to me, you're right. It may absolutely not apply to you, but I got so many questions on it just over the last few weeks alone. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make a video. I'm going to create an episode on this so that we can answer this for multiple people. And I could answer all those questions that people had asked in the last couple of weeks. So first up, moving to a new location may require that you get rid of some things, potentially put some things in storage, maybe sell some things, and then you're going to take some things with you, whether that's through a shipment or just in your suitcase. So what are we going to do with the stuff related to the move? So you've got to think through that process. What are we putting in storage? What are we selling? And what are we taking with us? And how will we take that with us? Shipment, suitcases, couple of 4 options there. So a shipment could be air, or it could be on a boat. Is there anything else for shipment? We can't teleport yet. Am I missing something there? Let me know. So as you think about the move, we put some things in storage our first round. And then we got some things out of storage. I'm like, why? Why did we keep this? So styles change, everything can change. So keep that stuff that you really want to hold on to. I was happy we put some heirlooms and an antique of my dad's, that was my grandma's, in storage. That felt good. Other stuff we pulled down, like, we need to sell this before our next move. If we ever need this again in our life, I know where to find it. So we sold a lot of our things on Facebook Marketplace and not Craigslist, a little bit on OfferUp. Facebook Marketplace turned out to be the best for us the last round. So that's something to think through, posting it. I will also note when we were selling things, those high price point items took a little bit longer to sell. For example, we got a dining room table at the Restoration Hardware outlet. Loved that thing, but it was so heavy. I didn't want to move it. I kind of wish I would have moved it once we got here, but sold it. And we sold it for the price that we bought it. We'd only used it for a year and a half when we were in the States. And it took a little longer. There was a little bit more interest, a little bit more fall off, but we ultimately sold it. So those things might take a little bit longer. And then the smaller things went pretty quickly. And I totally listed some stuff for free. I was lucky enough to have a pickup, like a front porch, where I could say, I'll leave it on the porch for you. Send me your money after you pick it up. And is there some risk there? Sure. But it wasn't a big enough concern for me that I wanted to wait down to the minute to hand things off with people. So I did some of that. We did some selling, and then we did some giving away to friends and family. And then we had our shipment. we did have a shipment through Matt's job where we sent some things on a shipment, the bigger items. And then we pack in our suitcases because you never know when the shipment's going to arrive. When we did our first move, we got our stuff August, September, October, November, like 3 or 4 months later. And then when we did our second move, it took about 10 months for our things to come. There were some extenuating circumstances in 2020. And so I was really grateful to have everything we had in our suitcases. The first time we moved, we took 8 suitcases. Second time we moved, it was a little unexpected. We only had 4 suitcases. That was also fine. And then this most recent move, we packed all the allotted suitcases. So we had 2 suitcases apiece for our international move with our tickets. And we each had a carry-on. We used it all up because we thought, we don't know when we're going to get our things. So we're just going to have what we want with us. So that was mostly clothes. It was things to get the girls' rooms set up. They had some toys. They had, activities and things that they really cared about that they wanted to have with them. And that would give them some entertainment because it can get really boring in an empty house, hotel room, wherever you're going to be for an interim period of time. And I have a suitcase full of work stuff. So what do I need? My husband's like, really? You're going to pack your lights? I'm like, yeah, we have no idea how long or what the situation's going to look like. So I'm going to have a few extra things. So I did take a suitcase for like work, some books, things like that I wanted to have with me immediately so I could get settled and back into a routine. So what will you move? What will you sell? What will you pack in a suitcase? Practical, but important. Practical, but important. Next up, thing to think about. I'm going to go next with WhatsApp. WhatsApp is used in a big way abroad. If you're not using that in the States, I'd set up your WhatsApp account. You might start connecting with people before you even get there on WhatsApp. So this is a simple one. Recommend setting up a WhatsApp account. It's basically a messaging system. That's all it is. Just a messaging system, but and it'll change with your phone number if you move or if you decide to change your phone number. So I'm going to take that to the next thing. Most countries, not all, work with one of the phone providers that we have in the US. So if you're from the US, moving to another country, AT&T, T-Mobile, a lot of these carriers are also overseas and will work overseas with another carrier. For example, Ethiopia does not. So in Ethiopia, our phone service did not work. We had to get phone service from the local plan when we got on the ground. But Google Fi, for example, operates in many other locations. And when we came to Abidjan, we had AT&T and it worked. It was great. But we thought, I think there might be another plan. People were talking about Google Fi. Google Fi does work here and it was a little bit more affordable. I do find that Google Fi uses the Orange network. So I don't know what it is, but every now and then my call drops a little bit. I'll talk to someone, I'm like, oh, all of a sudden I have no signal. I am talking to no one. And then AT&T Signal used MTN, which worked a little bit better. But either way, we hit the ground. Everything worked fine. We were set up. Call your phone provider before to make sure it'll work and you're set up for the right plan so you don't have unexpected fees. You kind of know what you're getting into. But I would definitely think that through and set that up in advance. It'll just make things easier. It's pretty simple to do. Next, super practical thing that I recommend you do in advance is download and set up a VPN. VPN will allow you to sort of adjust where you want your IP address to be coming from. It'll protect your network and it allows us to use some things that may be restricted in certain countries, depending on where you're moving. Like, let's say you're going to, I don't know, the Anthropology Free People brands actually don't work in some countries. When I would go to make a purchase or look at things, not even making a purchase, just look at things in Ethiopia, was not allowed at the time. I don't know if that's changed or not. Actually, I don't know if I can do those brands in Abidjan. I haven't looked. But then other brands will pop up and say like, oh yeah, you could totally, we ship to your country. Perfect. Okay. Like Nordstrom, for example, ship to Ethiopia. Setting up the VPN, you'll be able to pull up any website because you could say that it masks where you're actually at. and you can be from anywhere. This is also great for, like, my VPN right now is set up to New York or Miami. And it's also great for watching Netflix, Hulu, getting on various websites in general and entertainment. And they're onto it. They know that people are using VPN. So once they identify that this IP address is associated with a VPN, it might not work, but you can always update and change your location. So that works pretty well. There are a number of VPN providers out there. I don't even have a recommendation. So check those out. There is free, there is paid, but that's really helpful and ideal. I mentioned shipments. So mail. If you are going with an organization, a nonprofit, a company, an organization, they may have a mail service set up for you. Otherwise, there may be post-office boxes that you can get. There may be UPS drop-off locations, DHL. For example, DHL would deliver to Ethiopia, and there's a UPS store here. I have not used them. I have not shipped from there. I've not received things from there. We have mail service through my husband's organization. So that's totally something to check out because the address mail system may not be the same. Speaking of those beeps right now that you hear, another thing you may want to look at is an UPS supply. So there may be countries and locations that you would move where there are power interruptions. If you're going to be on calls where you don't want to lose power, lose your internet connection, lose for Zoom calls, getting a UPS, uninterrupted power supply. I can't pick this up. Ours is kind of heavy. They do come in small sizes. It's about this big. You can see my power on my frame went out. So our power in the house is out right now. But my computer keeps running because I have the uninterrupted power supply. So basically what this is it's a little battery pack. And when the power goes out, it will beep. That lets me know that the battery is now being used to run the electronics. So uninterrupted power supply. You may be able to buy these when you get to your location, but you may want to make sure it will run the right things. So I'd ask people that you're coming, can I get an UPS there? Will it be enough to run my computer and some internet? That's basically what I have plugged in. I have my computer plugged in and we have internet plugged in, I think. And hopefully, I think that's what we have plugged in. So look into your UPS, uninterrupted power supply, and make sure it works for the electric network in your country. For example, you're going to want adapters, you're going to want all of these things, and there's a voltage thing. Like I can't use my typical blow dryer here because the power system doesn't work. Those are questions I bring to my husband. Like, can I plug this in here? Yay or nay? So there's someone better out there to share information on that with you. I just want to bring it up. So it's something that you think about and look into. Next up, medical. Okay. You may need to get some medical boxes checked before you leave the country. Are there shots that you need to enter the country that you're going to? Are there expectations that that country has around those things? So those are things to look into. Some medical systems may not offer what you need in terms of healthcare. So everybody's situation is unique on this. So I want to bring these up as things that you're going to want to look into. When we were in Ethiopia, it was not uncommon for people to travel to various locations. We had doctors in Ethiopia. We had doctors through my husband's organization, but we would also travel for some medical services. So it was a mix of things. And so that's something to look into. What are your medical needs? Are there medications that you need that you can't get in the country that you're going to? If so, okay, what can I take with me? How am I going to get those sent to me through the mail while I'm there? Are there alternatives in country? So check with your doctor and your medical team on that. And I will say, you may want to work with a medical provider who understands the international system and requirements. I went to a couple doctors and they're like, wait, you need what? I was like, yes. So you might have to make a few phone calls to get to that point and to find your people that'll set you up and work with you. You may want to have a tele-detail arrangement set up, a teledoc system, and then look at the on-the-ground situation. So when you get into the country, this is super practical, but I did a tour of our medical facility. I talked to someone and understand, okay, who do I call if something happens? If it's an emergency, who do I call? Where do I go? Dentist appointments. So when you get on the ground, I'd also sort of get a medical orientation, because while we certainly hope and it is unlikely that something will happen, you still want to be prepared in case anything happens. A kid jumps from the couch to the floor and twists something, and you got to get that checked out. So you'll just know where to go, what to do. And you may also want to bring some over-the-counter medications with you, just so that you are comfortable. In fact, someone who works with us here at the house said, you have a lot of medicine. Like, I know, but we needed some things when we were in Ethiopia, and I didn't exactly know where to find it. And it was nice to have it on hand. So you may want to have some things you're like, I don't know, once a year I get a round of allergies, just have it with you, is my take on that. So think through your medical. In addition, I'm going to go to groceries next. Also super practical when you hit the ground. Oh my gosh, talk to people, scope it out. Groceries might be more expensive, less expensive, but also there may be markets, and we don't always get exactly what we expect, but it's fun. It's like, okay, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? We were so happy to have cheeses, and everything. In Abidjan here, people are like, okay, what's the food like? For example, someone knew I was here, they're moving here soon, and they messaged and said, all right, tell me about the food. Can I get buttercream? Can I get milk? Can I get, tomatoes? And they just had a list of kind of specific things. It's totally okay to ask. We are a family that will sort of adapt. I don't like to cook. So I'm like, okay, what can I get here? Yes, we'll take that. I'll eat whatever, right? So I do not have that, but it's also, you may hit a point where like, wait, I really just wish I could have this. So ask, because somebody might know where to find that thing. And it's such a fun adventure. Like, it's these little things that bring joy and add things up. Like when we first got here, people are like, oh, mango season, it's going to be good. I'm like, okay, when is mango season? I'm really looking forward to mango season. So ask all the questions about groceries and explore and go to the markets. And it's just so much fun. The other nice thing that I was excited about here was coconuts. They're everywhere. And there's coconut stands where people will, they have drinks, coconut water coming up. So there's so many beautiful, unexpected things. And maybe you can mail some things if you want. You might want to put some things in your suitcase. For example, we pack cheese and some meats that we can't get here when we go to vacation. For example, when family came in for the holidays, they filled up one whole Yeti cooler for us with meats. There might have been no cheese in there. We've got a pretty good cheese selection here, but there are brats and things that my husband wanted that we haven't found here yet. I don't think they're here, but maybe. So groceries, it's so fun. It's such an adventure. It's all an adventure. Two other things, super practical. Schools. Someone was asking me about schools, and there, again, it's going to vary by location. For example, here in Abidjan, there are French schools, there are English schools, there are schools that teach in both. So it's really thinking about what you want. If you've got kids who are coming with you, their age level, can they learn a new language and step right into a French school? If they're younger, what a cool opportunity. And so schools are something to evaluate. Each school there are private schools that are expensive and less expensive. So there are scales of that as well. I love the international schools that teachers are from all over, the staff is from all over, the students. I mean, it's just such a cool experience to be a global citizen and then be in a community of local and global citizens. And it just creates a really special learning environment. So you talk to admissions, you may need to send in essays, you need to send in applications and medical records and school records. So there is a process there. So if you've got children that may be coming abroad with you, that is something to get ahead of and look into. And then there are all sorts of online schools and homeschooling options now as well. I know some people who homeschool or do online schools, so lots of options. And in many locations that we're at, there are going to be a lot of extracurriculars for your kids too. For example, Audrey, we got here, we had already looked up horseback riding. Then we talked to people about the stables, and she was riding again within a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks. It was definitely under a month, and she was riding. And then Harper wanted a very specific kind of dance. She had just started doing West Coast swing. And my sister and her husband are West Coast swing dancers. And Harper got really excited to be plugged into that community at my sister and brother-in-law's wedding. And so she started West Coast swing dancing. So cool. We have not found that here yet. So instead, Harper's going to do salsa lessons, and we did a breakdancing lesson last week. So what are things that I wouldn't have even thought to try that, but this school teaches it, this dance school here, and we're going to try it. So, and I say Harper has already started. I'm thinking I'm going to get in for a couple lessons too. So extracurriculars may be plentiful. And again, it's just asking questions, which leads me to get plugged into community now. You don't have to wait until you're on the ground in the new country. Are there Facebook groups where expats hang out? It was a little bit more challenging for me coming to Abidjan because it's a French-speaking country, and the Facebook groups are primarily French-speaking as well. So I'm in a couple of them, this looks so cool. I wish I could read this. Also, Instagram. Instagram gives me the immediate translate option. So I found restaurants and places to stop and hairdressers and medical and just all sorts of things on Instagram as well. Certainly, some countries are going to have more presence in various social media platforms and others will have less, but definitely something to check out. But then getting into some of those groups and communities from the jump to ask these questions. You're going to find people are looking for similar things. Can I buy furniture there? Is anyone selling something? All sorts of good stuff there. So why wait? Get into community, ask people, see what people are saying, see what other people have asked. And as you start to narrow down locations, continents, countries, cities, plug in before you make your decision. In fact, we're doing that right now. We've got our next move location undetermined, but we've got a few ideas and things that we're talking through and working through. So I'm already talking to people about, what's it like to live there? Would you recommend it? What did you think about schools? How was traffic? And it's also so interesting when you bring up a country, what people immediately say. I asked about, I think I'm saying this wrong still, Yawande, Cameroon, the other day to someone, and she said, oh, the food, so good. Take me back for the food. Okay, I love it. So there are great things to get into conversation about simply by asking the question. So with that, if you have any questions about these very practical things that I have shared here today, tag me on Instagram at Amber McCue. Ask me in the comments on YouTube. I would love to connect with you and follow along your journey as you step into your adventure abroad. And you're so right on time, wherever you are in this journey. If you're just starting to think about it, like I was over a decade ago, or if you're more in the steps of making it a reality, so much fun. You're right on time. I can't wait to see where you land and check out your pictures. All the love. See you in the next episode where we are going to dive into some of the more adventurous, nuanced things that you might want to think about as you embark on this journey. Thanks for hanging out.